I was like, oh my gosh, you idiot. I don't even know what to say. I don't know why I did it. I think they're pretty. I hate it. Why am I still reading it? Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be embarking on an adventure together. I'm a little nervous because we are going to be reading the lowest rated books on my physical TBR according to Goodreads. So I am very excited about this and also very nervous because I feel like I'm going to be in a world of hurt. Most of these books are books probably that I am assuming I've had for a long time because I've been a lot more careful about buying books that are low rated on Goodreads because I do tend to agree sometimes. Every once in a while I'll find like a gem that I'm like, I don't get this. But most of the time I do tend to agree. So I try not to buy anything that's like under a 3.7 now. So I'm thinking these books are going to be some old ones, which is also why I want to do this because I want to clear some shelf space because it's possible I just have some DNFs and some bad books just sitting on my shelf and they're just there. So I really need to get rid of books. I'm trying to do backlist reading vlogs, etc. that will get rid of some books. And we are also going to be doing a thing this year where I'm trying to do more reading vlogs. Should have been in my 2023 goals, but I didn't think about it until I started this video, like started thinking about this. I'm planning to do one vlog a month because I feel like that's very doable. I may put in more if people are enjoying them. Vlogs are not really something on my channel people like go out of their way to try and find. It's definitely more unboxings and book reviews, but I kind of want to get into this. This sounds really fun for me. So I would like to try and do one every month. Next month I've already decided I'm going to be doing a horror book vlog for Valentine's Day basically. So bloody Valentine kind of thing. I love horror, well, I'd say I love horror books. I really like horror movies and I've been trying to get more and more into horror books because for me horror books are hit or miss. So we'll see. But anyway, there could be horror books on this list because I feel like horror books are like either people hate them or love them. So I feel like a lot are very low rated. But let's check out what my lowest rated books are. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, just at first glance, I'm already nervous. Because the first 4 books are books that I own, and then I am like, not excited to read. And 3 of them are young adult fantasy. Which isn't like really a surprise because that's what I used to buy a lot more of compared to, I still buy more than any other genre, that and thrillers. I'm surprised there's not a thriller at the bottom. That's what I'm really surprised about. Anyway, so the first on this list is a 3.17. That's really low. I think I just got rid of like some of the books on my TBR, so there were some lower ones like what was it? The Kira Cass book was on here at like a 2 point something. I was like, dang. But anyway, the first one is A Shadow in the Glass. This is, I believe I got this from LitJoy, and I think it's like a dark Cinderella retelling. I think that's all that I know about it. But my copy of it is very pretty. I feel like this is definitely one that, well, obviously I'm gonna read this one, so this is definitely one of my picks. Yeah. Oh Lord. Oh man, and I even hurt myself. So on like, you can see on the 6th, I went through and added all of my physical books on here so I could do this. I should have left this one out. Oh, I hurt myself with this one. Okay, so yeah, we're following a maid named Ella, and she's forced to work hard under the forgiving, lecherous gaze of the man she once called her stepfather. Only refuge is books. Ella's wishes are answered. Stroke of midnight, a fairy godmother makes her an offer. 7 wishes. Each wish comes at a price, and Ella must decide whether it's one she's willing to pay. Okay, I mean, that definitely sounds like something I would have picked up on my own. So even if LitJoy hadn't gotten for me, I probably would have picked it up anyway. So it sounds like something I would like. It definitely sounds like something I would like, so yeah, I'm not surprised it's on here. I'm not surprised I have a physical copy of it. It's just been forever since, like, it's been on my shelves. Okay, it looks like the next one is The Queen's Secret. I really don't want to read that one. I don't know why I bought it. I really don't know why I bought it. 3.29, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. It is the second in a series, so do I really want to include that in here? I feel like I should. I should, because it's part of the lowest thing, and I'm not gonna read it otherwise. So that's the point of this video. Okay, we're gonna put it in. I have a very tough relationship with Melissa de la Cruz. She pisses me off because I've read a bunch of her books, and about 90% of them I don't like, and that includes the first book in this series. I don't really want to go over the plot because it's gonna be spoilers for the first one if anyone wants to read it, but I wouldn't. Next looks like Star Daughter, and this is one that I've also been putting off. It's a chunky book. That's what I remember about it, and I have I believe the Owl Crate edition of it, so it's like all purple, and I remember that because I don't want to read it because I feel like I'm not going to like it, and therefore I'll have to get rid of it if I don't like it, and it's so pretty. It is so pretty. I actually like the purple edition better than the yellow one, even though the yellow probably makes more sense if it's about stars. I guess stars could be purple. I don't know. Anyway, this is a 3.32, which is a lot. This is really low. They're all really low. I was expecting like somewhere closer to 3.5, but apparently not. Apparently we're going really low in this video. Right, this is our main character, Sheetal. She has silvery hair and she's part star. I do remember that from like them talking about it on the synopsis thing. And she hurts her dad and has to go find her mom, who's full star, to come help him. So I mean, it sounds fine. I think there's also like trials and stuff or something. Yeah, competition. So I mean, it has everything in it that I like, and it is a standalone, which I'm excited about. However, I'm also nervous. I'm also very nervous because it's so chunky, and it's just, I don't know. I hate picking up chunky books because then I'm like, I'm gonna be reading this forever. Whew, this is Shadow in the Glass. I think was chunky too, so we already have like 2 rather large books that I'm going to be reading. Great. This reading vlog may last forever. Okay, and I think we'll do 4. We'll do 4 because the first 4 are books that I own, and then What You Gonna Do is not a book that I have. I don't own that book. So we'll do Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder, which is also one I'm really nervous about, but it's smaller. It's got a 3.4, which is still low. And obviously it follows a murder. And we're following a main character, Marion, who works for a detective agency underground. And I know there's gadgets and solving of a murder, and that's pretty much all that I know. So, and that's all I kind of want to know, because that's kind of how I like going into mysteries. And this one I really hope is more like a cozy mystery and not like a British mystery. I know it sounds really weird, but for some reason my brain cannot handle mysteries written by, like cozy mysteries written by British authors. I don't know what it is. It baffles my brain. It's for some reason the way that it's written, it's almost written like in an old school way. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. So hopefully this isn't like that, but maybe that's why it's so low. And I believe that is all that I'm going to do. But we'll just stick to the 4. We'll stick to the 4 even if there's DNFs, because I am going to DNF if I don't like them. I'm not going to force myself to read them. There's a high likelihood I'm not going to like them, so I am not going to force myself into reading these books if I don't like them, which could make a very short vlog, very anticlimactic, but hopefully we'll find some favorites. Let me go get the books and we'll talk about them very quickly and which ones I think I'll like and which ones I think I'll have an issue with. So here are the books in the order of apparently terribleness, with Shadow in the Glass last and Marion Lane up at the front. These, so you can tell there's like 2 pretty ones that I don't want to get rid of. So we have Shadow in the Glass with very pretty sprayed edges, although I do have some, I have a little bit of water damage on this one, which is kind of sad, but oh well. Anyway, Shadow in the Glass, this one was lowest. Then we have Queen's Secret. It's pretty short, so that's good. Should be able to get through this one pretty fast. This one, yeah, that one. We have Star Daughter, It's so pretty. Like I said, it's so pretty. I love the purple. So I really hope I like this one. And the one that maybe I'm most afraid to read, because I'm most afraid that it's gonna be like not my type of genre in mystery, Marion Lane. I love this cover. I know this isn't like the new covers, so I think it's like a series, but the new covers are totally different, which is sad because I really like this red cover. It's why I actually picked it up. I didn't know anything about it when I picked it up. I didn't look it up. I was like, I just really want this. So, because I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I saw how low the ratings were. But it's very pretty. It's very, very pretty. So, I think my order is going to be, I think this is going to be a DNF. I'm going to call it now. So that all goes on the bottom. I think this is a potential DNF. I think I'm going to be bored, but it's so short I may finish it just to see what happens in it. But I'm also curious if that's going to be a DNF. Then I'm going to go with Star Daughter, because I feel like the synopsis is not as interesting as the Cinderella one. And then we'll go with Shadow in the Glass. I think this will be my order. I think I'll give Shadow and Glass like a 4, I bet. And then maybe Star Daughter like a 2.5 to a 3. And then maybe a 2 or DNF. And then a 1 or DNF is my kind of guess about what I think is going to happen. Obviously, I hope I like all of them. So anyway, this is my order. I am going to start, I think, with Shadow in the Glass. We're going to start with Shadow in the Glass because it is the lowest. We're going to go in order of lowest to best, I guess. So we'll start with Shadow in the Glass, then we'll go to The Queen's Secret, then Star Daughter, then Marion Lane. So let's get started with Shadow in the Glass. Okay, I can definitely see why people don't like this book. Now that I've got a little bit like more into it, I now understand, because I didn't look through it before, there are no chapters. There are no chapters. Who writes a book that's not a novella or like poetry on purpose? Who doesn't write chapters for like a long book? It's a long book. So I'm struggling, and how I'm reading it is there'll be breaks in the paragraphs, which I don't know why you wouldn't just say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. No, there's like breaks, and then it'll start something new. That's how I'm kind of reading it. I'll stop there and like go do something else and then come back to it. Because the story's not bad. The story's like, so far, I'm 67 pages in, which is part 1. I'm reading it by parts. Like I'm reading a part every day. And that's what I'll update through because they're long. Like I'm on 67. The next part is through 114, I believe. So they're long. It's basically like over 50 page chapters. So that's, oh my God. Oh. I hate that. I hate that writing style. It makes it so hard for me to like get through it. But now that I understand more what it's about, it is definitely a dark retelling of Cinderella. Very odd way to retell it. It's not like her father died or her mother died. Like she was taken in by a rich woman and that rich woman died. So that's kind of more what the story is about. And it's very, trigger warnings. Trigger warnings. I wasn't expecting like this much to be going on, but the man of the house, the lord of the house, is a predator. He is a predator and is awful. So keep that in mind if you were thinking about reading this. If you don't like anything with like sexual assault, it's very much implied in this. Like, I don't even know if just implied. It's pretty much outright said that it happens. Not in detail, but there's definitely like very uncomfortable moments where he's cornering people. It's very uncomfortable. So if you have any issues with that, avoid. I'm sure that's another reason why people quit this book very early on. It has permeated the first 67 pages. Ella was basically taken in by this rich lady, and she was being trained to be a miss, and she was going to be sent out to public. She was going to get a good husband, be rich, etc. But that woman died, and her husband is horrible. He's the guy I'm talking about. He's the pervert, and he basically put her back down into housemaid status, which is what she originally was. Like her mom was a housemaid who worked for the lady, and the lady felt bad when her mom died, and that's why she took her in. So she has been relegated back to like her original station, and it's really hard on her, obviously, because she thought she was gonna have one life, and then the other housemaids treat her badly because she was seen as someone higher up and now she's working with them, so they don't like her based on that. They're like, oh, you spoiled rich person, etc., even though she's doing the same work they are now. So it's very mean, it's nasty. The other housemaids are basically taking the place of the Cinderella sister, like the sisters, the stepsisters. They're basically the ones that are the bad ones. They're basically the stepsisters and mistreating her. But that's pretty much all this first 67 pages. Oh, and she was reading a book and she gets a like spot of her blood on it, and a fairy godmother shows up who's really like a demon and offers her a trade. She'll get 7 wishes for her soul. So she obviously agrees, because I don't know why you would agree to that. She even knew it was bad. That was the funniest part. Like, normally I feel like when you make these deals, people are like, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And she's like, no, I know these are bad, and she took it anyway. But I mean, she doesn't really have many options, so I can see why she took the deal. And that's pretty much where we're at. She has 7 wishes. She used one in a stupid way to prove that it was real. I was like, oh my gosh, you idiot. And that's pretty much where we're at. She's trying to decide what to do with her wishes. It's fine. I hate how it's laid out, the sections instead of chapters, but the writing is pretty good. Like, the writing is actually really good. The story is pretty interesting so far. I'm curious where it's gonna go, because so much I feel like has already happened in 67 pages, and at the same time I feel like not much has happened, so I don't know. There's stuff going on, but I'm going to continue reading it. We're gonna see if I can get through the second section today and see where it takes us, because I'm hoping it picks up and then I'll start being able to read more sections a day. They're just so long, so it's hard. It's really hard to get through, and I'm also trying to read my book of the months at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to get back to reading, stuff to do, yeah, etc. I don't even know what to say about this. I was gonna update on Sunday. It's been a long time. I was gonna update a couple days ago when I got like mostly through the book and like a couple things happened, but we ended up having a really, really bad day on Sunday. I ended up losing a very important thing to me. A necklace. I went out, didn't latch it correctly, so I ended up losing it, and it's been a rough couple days. I'm really upset about it. So haven't really updated about anything, but I did finish this. I at first did not understand why people didn't like this, because on Goodreads, I think it was a 3.13, I really wasn't getting it. Like, I was to like here, and I definitely understood like her decisions were like really stupid, but there's a lot of like desperation in her decisions. There's reasons why she does the stuff that she does, until the end. The end was so bad. It was so bad. So I'm like so torn on this, because I thought this was gonna be an easy 4-star, and now it's like, it's a 2. So I'm so sad, because I was like, oh, this is gonna be like one that this is the worst one on my list. This is the worst one on my list, and it's gonna be, I'm gonna love it. I'm actually having a great time with it, and I enjoyed so much of this book. And then the last, like, I would say 70 pages just went unhinged, like absolutely unhinged. I feel like the character, but at the same time I feel like it's an honest portrayal of people. Like, she acted like how most people would act, so that's why I'm also torn, because it feels super realistic. But I really wanted at the end there to be like some meaning to it. Like, I feel like there wasn't a meaning to what happened, because it's a depressing book. I did not take it seriously when it said it was a dark retelling. It is a dark retelling. There's nothing happy about this book. I was hoping there was going to be some sort of like rewind, like she was going to get to her last wish, and this isn't really spoilers, she was going to get to like her last wish, and the lesson was she shouldn't have been doing it. She should have figured out, like, she should have learned from her mistakes. She should have taken into account other people's feelings instead of just her own, something like that. And then like reverse everything, and she ends up right where she is, sitting in the chair, and she was like asleep or something. I would have loved that, because you still have the very dark aspects of the book, but our character, who's had a very bad time, is able to come back from that. Like, she's able to get a second chance. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted her to get a second chance. Instead, we get this very depressing end that's also kind of open-ended. There's definitely not a definitive ending to this book, which is very unfortunate. And it's also definitely not a romance. Like, don't go into reading this like it's a romance. The point is not the romance. It's really not that important, besides making her make certain decisions based on those feelings. So it's definitely just like a character study, and a very dark character study in a slightly fantasy Victorian era story. So if you go into this, if you want to read this, go into it knowing it's not happy. There's not a definitive ending. It is not happy. It is depressing. It is depressing, but it was still really good. I did see a lot of people thought it was too long. It was a bit long. It was boring, and the romance was terrible. So I didn't agree with the first two. The romance is bad, but if you take it as a side thing, like it's not actually the point of the book, it's much better. However, if you want to pick this up, there are some very, very, very major trigger warnings in here. I was not expecting the level of trigger warnings in here. There is lots of discussion of sexual assault in this book. A lot. It permeates the whole book. It never stops talking about it. So that's throughout the whole book. And then there's a lot of death. A lot of death. There's an animal death. It's not super horrible, but there is one. It's not a dog. It's a different type of animal. It's not a dog or a cat. And then this, I'm going to put a spoiler warning up really fast. This is the only spoiler I'm going to be talking about. So spoiler warning for this, trigger warning if you want to know. There is discussion of abortion. That was like, took me completely by surprise. So it took me a second to kind of like adjust myself and be like, okay, in the context of the book, this is what's going on, etc. So if you have any type of issues with discussions of abortion, it's a very traumatic scene, very, like, for anybody. It's a lot. So I think it was done in a way that made sense with the story, at least, but it just kind of came out of nowhere all of a sudden, and I was like, whoa. Wow. So yeah, so those are kind of the trigger warnings. Get rid of the spoilers, and that's kind of all I have to say about this book, because it's very confusing, and I'm gonna stick with the 2 stars, although it's sad because I would say 80% of the book is like a 4, and then 20%, the last 20% of the book is like a 2. I really just didn't like the ending, pretty much. Everything else I was fine with, really just didn't like the ending. So unfortunately I agree with the masses, and I did not think this was that good of a book because of the ending. Okay, it is the next morning from when I filmed the update on Shadow in the Glass, because I was actually in the middle of cooking dinner while I was doing that, and yeah, it was, I almost burned something because I was doing this instead. So, let me do my little intro, and then I'll do my reading update. So, the next book that I'm actually going to be starting is The Queen's Secret. So this is next in line. I don't remember what this was. I'll put up a little screen that says what the rating was. Yeah, so this is the second book in a duology. I was unsure if I really wanted to add this one in, because I feel like this should be in like a finish the series kind of reading thing, like what I did last year, but this is my biggest, probably gonna be a DNF in this video, I would think. This one in the Marion Lane book, because I really didn't like the first book. I liked the first half of the first book, and then it went super weird, and then I was like, oh, this is a really bad book, but I still want to know what happened. So I ended up picking this up, and I don't know why I did it. I think they're pretty. They're really pretty. So the first book is The Queen's Assassin, and I actually got it in a book box because I would not have picked this up by this author otherwise, because I don't trust this author. I read her Blue Blood series, at least most of it. I think I got to like the last book and I was like, I hate this series. Why am I still reading it? I hate it. Why am I still reading it? So I got rid of that whole series, and I was like, I'm not gonna pick up another book by this author, because it's not my cup of tea. Unfortunately, this came in a book box. So I was like, okay, fine. It sounds like it's up my alley. It's following our 2 main characters, one is the Queen's assassin and one Cal, and the other one is Shadow, who is also an assassin and wants to be part of guilds. So the twist is super, super obvious in this, and then the romance is terrible. Like, do you know how a lot of people complain that Kristen Stewart didn't actually have like a personality? That's how both characters feel. They are literally the same person. It's the only way to distinguish between the chapters is literally their names are at the top, because you would not be able to like distinguish them as separate people. They are so similar, and it's not super fun to read, but like I said, I did enjoy the first half of this. I think I gave it like a 2.5, rounded up to 3 on Goodreads. Although if I were to go back, probably would round down to 2. It intrigued me enough that I was like, okay, let me pick up the second book. And this was before I was like, I picked it up a while ago because this was before I was trying to DNF more. So like this year especially, I never would have picked this up. I'm trying to DNF series, DNF books more as I'm not enjoying them. If I'm not enjoying them, I'm gonna try and not do that this year. I'm not gonna force myself to continue on because I have a completionist issue. So anyway, that's kind of this book, is they ended up working together to solve some crimes in their kingdom. So yeah, then I picked up this one, and this one is going to be following the continuation of the first book. I can't really talk about it because the spoiler or whatever, that's what happens, and this is where it picks up. But basically, the two main characters are at odds right now, and they're working towards the same goal, but they're doing it in different ways. So that's kind of what this one is. It's okay that I don't have that much to like, I can't talk about it because I did start it last night and I'm already DNFing it. The only reason I'm showing it in this video is because I showed it at the beginning. So this is 50 pages in, DNF. It's so bad. It is so bad. It's just continuing the stupidity of the end of last book. And then I looked up some of like the issues people had with it once I decided to DNF, and apparently it gets even worse. So I skimmed the ending, and the ending had me cackling. It was so bad. It was so stupid. The whole problem with this series is that they have to be separated for a reason, the romance, and the whole book is them separated. And the way that it's solved at the end is like so stupid that they can be together. And also like the character has kids. If you're gonna read this, I'm sorry. I'll put spoilers. The character is gonna have twins. And the very last thing in the book is her talking about how one twin is going to go live with her husband, the king, in another kingdom. And one twin she's gonna keep to live with her and her, the guard, because they have to pretend that they're still married and ruling separate kingdoms. And the guy that she's been with the 2 books is going to stay at her side in her kingdom, having like being her lover, and they're gonna take care of one of the twins, and her husband, who she doesn't even like, gets the other twin. And it's like, they're not even his kids. What? Like, I'm so happy I didn't read this. I'm so happy I didn't read this. It's so weird. It's so weird. So we're gonna move on right from that. I know that was a little like anticlimactic, but because I got distracted by dinner, I didn't end up doing another update last night, which is why automatically I thought I was gonna come in intro and be like, okay, 50 pages, we're going to the little, no, DNF. Sorry, this is, ooh, it's already bad. Okay, so moving on from that travesty is our next book, Star Daughter. It's just so pretty. It's just so pretty. This one I'm like most afraid because like this one's also pretty. This one's also pretty. Like with the green, it's so pretty. Although my husband spilled water on it. So I got some water damage on a couple pages, which was really sad. I still don't know if I'm gonna keep this one. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it because I did like a lot of it. So that one, I'm gonna decide what I'm keeping. But I want to keep this one because it's so pretty. But if I DNF or I don't like it, I gotta get rid of it. That's like also one of my new goals, is to make sure, I did really well last year, to make sure I get rid of books I don't like or like give me bad vibes. So if this gives me bad vibes, I'm gonna be very sad. However, I have read the first 32 pages. I started it late last night, because I was like, I need to get this other book out of my head. It's so bad. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. So this book, I'm going to read directly from it so I don't get the names wrong, because this is steeped in legends and folklore and stuff of another culture. And so I really don't want to screw up. I believe it's, so our author is Shveta Thakrar, part-time Najini and full-time believer in magic. I believe she's Indian, so I think there's like a lot of Indian culture in this, and I want to say there's like Hindi magic and some other things going on. I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully I'll learn a lot more as I go through it, but it's supposed to be like steeped in that. So that's our main character. She's awesome. She looks a little older than I would expect. Like she looks a lot older, but she's supposed to be 17. This is a young adult book, and it's fantasy. So she's part, the main point is that she is part star. Her mother was a star that came down and was with her father, who is a astronomer, and they had her, so she's part star, and she has to hide her like beautiful silver hair because it like shimmers, and so she has to dye it black. And that's kind of where I am at the story. She gets like callings from the stars, and she's very musical. And it's really neat, and it's cute because she's also dealing with very teenage things. Like she has a big crush on a boy, she has some best friends who are out there and they're fun, and then she's dealing with her single dad who's still in love with the mom who went back to the stars. So it's interesting, and it's a very quick read. Like I'm getting through it very quickly. So we already know that she's a star. So moving on, it says, as her 17th birthday draws near, the pull from the sky is growing stronger, so strong that Sheetal loses control, and a flare of starfire burns her human father, an injury only a full star's blood can heal. So she goes and ascends to the sky, and she has to take part in this like competition thing, and apparently there's romance. So I think this sounds really good. I'm surprised it has as low as a rating. I'm assuming because it is really long, but it's a standalone, so I feel like this is an appropriate length for a standalone. I think it's about the same length that Shadow in the Glass is. I think people just don't really like reading long books, but we'll see, because right now I really like it, and the characters are really sweet, and like the dad is really funny, she's really nice. So far I'm really liking it. I have physical therapy this morning, but then I plan to come home and pretty much like read all day. So that's kind of my plan. I don't know how I'm gonna update because it has regular chapters, so that's good, unlike Shadow and Glass. But I'll probably update. And if you couldn't tell, in most of my reading vlogs, I'll update to like a certain point and then I just finish the book. Because, I don't know, that's just how I am. So I'll probably update when something happens, or if I start not enjoying the book, I'll update when something happens. Something changes. So that's all I can say, because this is like a multiple book reading vlog, so I don't want to update like too much and have too much going on. Like I don't want this to be forever long. So I'm gonna go do all the things and then read and then hopefully update, and I'll see you guys in the next clip. I feel like I knew this book was too good to be true so far, but like I was so frustrated with it. I'm like 260 pages in. It's a 440 page book. It's a long book, and it really didn't need to be this long. The thing is, I was absolutely loving this book through until probably 170 pages, and I think I'm at 260 I think I'm at right now. So for the last 100 pages it's kind of been a bit of a slog because they've gotten up to the stars. So basically she injures her father, it's in the synopsis, and she has to go find her mom up in the stars, and a competition is taking place and she gets roped into it. The problem is, after she gets roped into competition, you start getting bogged down with tons of information, tons of emotional stuff, and it's just like, it's really put the story onto a screeching halt. And it feels like a lot of it is unnecessary. A lot of it is just establishing her grandparents as kind of shitty people. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It's like 100 pages of that. So I feel like it just kind of needed to move along a bit, or it needed to at least be putting some of the romance back into it. So like her romantic interest is interesting and I really, really like it, but it's kind of like disappeared from the book in these last 100 pages, which I don't like. So I kind of hope they reintroduce it a little bit more as I keep going. But yeah, it's definitely slowed down a lot. It's kind of like, it was a 4 definitely, and it started to go down to like a 3.5 right now. So I'm really hoping the action like picks back up again. And yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't know how I exactly feel about it yet, and I think it's definitely going to depend if it picks up, because I am still barely halfway through this book and it is starting to drag, and it's just long. So let's talk about Star Daughter. I finished reading it, and unfortunately I'm giving it a 3. I thought this was going to be like the book that had me disagreeing with the general population. It did not. My rating is actually lower than the average. The average, I think what I just saw was 3.32, and mine is just a 3. Oh man. And I definitely think my biggest issue was the middle section of it, and the ending was a bit odd. So the middle section just started dragging. The book is about 440 pages about, and unfortunately it definitely dragged in the middle. It got so, it's almost like the author didn't know exactly what to do in the middle of it. And this isn't like a competition like I thought it would be. So I thought this was going to be like normal competitions, but no, this was like an actual competition, like a talent competition. So when they were talking about training for the competition, it wasn't as entertaining as, like, you know, big competitions are like in these fantasy books normally. And I think that was a big problem, but I actually think this was marketed to the wrong people. So my biggest problem with this is it was very much less, I'm trying to think of how to describe this, because this is definitely fantasy. This is young adult fantasy. However, if you take out all the fantasy stuff, it is basically a story about a girl trying to discover who she is and figure out who her family is and who she can trust, and getting over all this trauma from being left as a child by her mother. So in my opinion, this book is actually young adult fiction, just contemporary fiction. I would say people who like young adult contemporary fiction should read this, because to me, the family aspect and all that stuff was way more important than the fantasy aspect of it. I think that's where a lot of problems came from, is it was marketed to the wrong group of people. I do still think it was too long. I think it probably could have been about 50 to 75 pages shorter, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the middle that you just didn't need it to be happening. It was unnecessary filler. Also, the romance was terrible. The romance started off really, really good, and they picked it up at the Star Palace, which was really cool. But then it just disappeared for like 200 pages. And then in the last 100 pages, they brought it back and were like, oh, romance. And I was like, So I think the romance needed to be, if you were going to finish the book like that, basically the book started with the romance being important, and then the book ended with the romance being important. So if you wanted to do that, you really needed to sprinkle the romance more throughout the book, or just get rid of it. It was too in between the two that it didn't work that well. And then the ending was kind of weird. Like, there was no, like, there was kind of a resolution, but I feel like there wasn't. And then no one who behaved badly had any type of consequences, which was very strange. Like, I feel like this was definitely a story of loving your family, even if they're kind of terrible people. Like, I feel like that's what it was. So I don't know, like, I have a lot of mixed feelings about the ending, which is again why, because I was at about a 3.5, because even though the middle part kind of dragged and was a little boring, I still in general was really enjoying the story. And then the ending was just kind of weird and thrown in there, and nothing felt resolved. No one felt like, mostly the grandmother, something needed to happen to the grandmother, and nothing did. Like, she didn't learn anything from the entire book. So I felt that was a bit of a letdown, and that's why instead of a 3.5, it dropped to a 3 only. So unfortunately, this was a 3, and it was still good. I really enjoyed it. I finished the book. I was actually worried this was going to be a DNF because of how long it was, and it's not my normal cup of tea in regards to fantasy books. And like I said, I think it was definitely marketed to the wrong group of people. Also, okay, something that made me really mad when I was looking up reviews of this was there was a couple comments, but there was one specifically that I got really mad about because basically a couple people were saying they didn't like this book because they couldn't understand the culture in it. So it's a lot of Indian culture. However, there was so many context clues that was not a problem at all. It honestly felt like the people who didn't like this based off of that were lazy. They were just lazy readers and didn't want to even attempt to learn anything about the Indian culture, which is really insulting to this author because she wrote it in a way that was easy to understand. And if there was something you didn't understand, you could easily Google it. And it wasn't like these abstract terms. It was like a term for an outfit, a term for some food, stuff like that. It was stuff that was very easily looked up and very easily like context clues understanding. So I was very frustrated with that because there are books out there that are not easy to read for people who don't understand the subject material. However, this was not one of them. This one would have taken about 5 seconds of your time Googling something to understand it. So that kind of pissed me off. So those reviews I wouldn't trust because you'll understand it fine. No problem. If you like want to read this and you're worried that you won't understand the culture in it, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. She wrote it in a really good way. The writing is also really good. Again, I think she just lost her way a little bit in the middle of the book and then didn't know exactly how to end it. Like she had the Stephenie Meyer effect of like immortality being a problem and didn't handle it in any kind of way. So that was my biggest issue. Middle section, cut out about 75 pages and tweak the ending a bit to be more satisfying. And this would have probably been a 4-star. So I still enjoyed it. I wish I had liked it a little bit more, but I'm still calling this one a win because I didn't give it under a 3. I feel like that's considered a win. Okay, we are officially on to the last book of this vlog, and I am so excited to be done with this. We've had a 2.5 star, a DNF, and a 3-star, and I mean, the funny thing is I enjoyed reading the 2 that I rated, but there's just like things about them that were just like, and I'm reading these one after the other. So, and I've had no 5-star reads this year so far, and I'm super behind on my book of the month, books that I want to be reading this month. So I'm just ready to be done and be picking books that I like want to mood read, because like I said, I'm a mood reader. So this has been a very interesting vlog and it's taken me forever. So our last book that we are reading, I was about to say, you all know what it is because I already talked about all the books, but this is Marion Lane and the Midnight Murder. So this is pretty short, thank goodness. My concerns about this one kind of already talked about, but it seems like it's more British mystery. The author says she's from Johannesburg, South Africa, which is really cool. And she currently lives in Malta. So this could be okay because she's not actually a British writer, but if you haven't seen my previous videos, I have an issue for some reason with British mystery and thrillers. Don't know what it is, don't know why it's a problem, but for some reason my brain just goes, whoop. Can't do it. It's not even like they're bad books. It's just my brain just doesn't like them for some reason. So hopefully this is not in the vein of that, but it does seem like it takes place in London, which is why I'm very concerned about this one. But we're going to try to read it. It is a mystery. I'm pretty excited about that. Mysteries for me are either DNFs or I love them, it seems like, because I am more of a thriller reader, not a mystery. I like generic cozy mysteries, like the small ones, like the mass market paperback ones. I love those. They're so much fun for me to read. So I'm kind of hoping this reads like that. And all of those tend to be lowly rated. So I'm kind of curious if this is like a cozy mystery and people didn't like it because it seems like people don't like cozy mysteries for some reason, or they're just rated low on Goodreads for some reason. So that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping with this one. So we're gonna go get started. I'm also watching, it is Friday the 13th, which is like my favorite day of the year. I love it. I always have the best luck on these days. My luck is terrible the rest of the year, but on Friday the 13th, I tend to have pretty good days. So I'm excited. Everything's going great so far. And I'm watching to celebrate Friday the 13th, I am watching The Rig on Amazon Prime, which is like this, it's a sci-fi, but it's kind of also like creepy. And I'm kind of obsessed with it. I'm on episode 4. And so I'm kind of alternating between reading and watching that. So, and cleaning. So having a fun time. It's a good day. Hanging out with my dog. So let's go get started with this and I will update you kind of just when I feel like it. Okay, I'm sorry if you can hear the water heater making like a hissing sound. I'm in one of our spare bedrooms because it's the only place that I can like film upstairs that is comfortable. Because I'm still using my phone and I don't have anywhere to like prop it up. Anyway, just washed my hair, took a shower. It is early in the morning. Actually, we're going to update on this reading, but I'm actually already finished the book, therefore finished the vlog. Because I didn't want to, I'll get into that. So anyway, we were reading Marion Lane. Yes, I did not do any updates and I did that on purpose because I got to page 100 and I was like, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. So I was really afraid of updating and jinxing it like I did with Shadow in the Glass, because Shadow in the Glass went from like a 4 to what, like a 2. So I was so nervous about jinxing this one that I was like, I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read it. And honestly, it's not much to update on. It's like one of those books that you kind of just read through. It's also really short and you kind of just enjoy the experience while reading it. So this is following our main character, Marion Lane, and it takes place in 1958. And I am not kidding you when the vibes of this book scream the time period. I always get so annoyed when I read a book and the time period is just not represented very well. So this one was like, I felt like I was in 1958. It was pretty amazing. Don't really want to live there as a woman because you have like no rights. But, sorry, my dog is just making disgusting sounds standing next to me because he wants to go do something. He's bored. So he's licking his jowls and I'm just like, just this gross sound. When no other sound is on and you're listening to that, you're like, if you're a dog, you know exactly what I mean. And it's like weirdly loud when it's really quiet. Okay, like I was saying, love the time period with this. So she is in 1958 and we learn that she's been living with her grandmother because her mother died and she is currently working for a bookstore. But of course, it's not really a bookstore. It is a front for a detective agency and she is a new apprentice. She's only been there for a couple months and she's learning the ropes and she's basically taking all these tests and doing all these workshops so that hopefully she can graduate and become a inquisitor. And so she wears a little A on her thing as apprentice and she does all these shops and then she has a bunch of friends. It's so cool. It is so cool. It has all these gadgets. It has this mystery going on. So it opens up with a murder, obviously in the Midnight Murder, and she gets embroiled in this, but you also see all these gadgets and there's mysterious corridors and locked off areas. I loved this. I absolutely love this and I am so shocked that the ratings are as low as they are. I honestly just like, I couldn't believe it. I double checked when I was finishing this and I was rating it. I was like, how is it so low? This is so fun. But I think it falls into the same issue a lot of cozy mysteries do. So I would definitely qualify this as very typical of a mass market paperback mystery, cozy mystery. This definitely felt like one of those, which is what I love. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't because they feel like the characters are very one-dimensional and then they feel kind of bored throughout because it's a lot of some slice of life kind of stuff going on. It's a lot about the relationships in the book. So while they're going through and checking out the murder, they're also doing daily things, daily tasks, and going about their business while like secrets pop up. So that's what this is. It's basically like she's going about her business, doing her workshops while also serving, like doing the mystery at the same time. So I can see people, because that's what I saw a lot in the comments, was it was boring. They felt like the characters were one-dimensional. They felt like there was too many characters, which I agree with. I do agree with that. I think she threw in too many characters. So some of the professors got a little confusing, like who was who, And so I do agree with that, which is why I did not get a 5. But it did get a 4.25. I really enjoyed this. This was a huge winner. This is probably one that I was most on the fence about because I was like, this could be a cozy mystery that I love. This could be a cozy mystery that is like, reminds me of like the British humor stuff, and I'm not gonna like it. This, to me, was just a perfect story following a singular, it's simple. I mean, that's the thing. And I feel like a lot of people don't like simple books anymore. And that's what cozy mysteries are simple books. So this, to me, is a simple, cute, cozy mystery. It does get a little aggressive at the end. I was a little surprised. There was a point in the book that like something gross happened, and I was like, wasn't expecting that for a cozy mystery, because normally that kind of stuff doesn't happen in cozy mysteries. But that's all I really have to say about this, because there's not much that happens. There's a singular murder going on. You're also trying to figure out what these, there's like a forbidden area in the underground detective agency, because everything is underground. It's really cool. Oh, I just had to pick up my dog because he's pissing me off today. He gets really mad. So he's like a 13-year-old Shih Tzu. He gets really, really mad when we leave the room, and he doesn't get to do what he wants. Like if you're doing something he doesn't want, he'll stomp around with his little clicky feet, because we have hardwood throughout our house. With his little clicky feet, he'll stomp around, huff, lick, do stuff just to make noise to annoy you until you do something he likes. So I just picked him up and sat him on the bed that's next to me, because he's the clicking was getting really annoying. He started running. He started running back and forth. So it got really annoying. Okay, so can I finish this? Thank you. Here, you can look at him for a second. He won't be happy, but there he is. He's a grumpy man. He doesn't like cameras either. He doesn't acknowledge their existence. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, that is pretty much all I have to say about this, because it is just a very simple, cute, cozy mystery, and I loved it. I cannot wait. So the next one's already out, and then the third one is coming out, I think, in June this year. So I am going to buy the second one when I get the chance and read it, because I so very much enjoyed this, and it left off on like a, this is not the end of the story kind of thing. So like I said, cozy mystery to a T. So very much enjoyed this. This was a very big win for this video. So because I already finished, like, this is the end of the vlog. So let's talk about all the books really fast. Let's do a little recap. So originally, my order for this video was, this is what I thought. I thought from favorite to least favorite. And I definitely was like way off, except for the very last one, obviously, which was a DNF. So my actual order is this. Very shocked. I guess Star Daughter is technically in the same place. I just wasn't expecting it to be above Shadow in the Glass. I really thought I was going to love Shadow in the Glass because Dark Cinderella retelling, but it just, that ending really killed it for me. That ending really killed that one. Star Daughter still was a surprise. I was expecting Shadow in the Glass to be like a 3.5, 4. I was expecting Star Daughter to be like a 2.5, because I didn't love the premise of it, and it was very long for a young adult fantasy, and it's been a while since I got that one. Some young adult fantasy does not age well. It doesn't seem like it's current, so I was very happy with that. And then Marion Lane, I was thinking DNF probably, actually. And then Queen's Secret, I was thinking DNF as well. So I thought it was going to be two DNFs in 2 books that I finished, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm shocked. I am shocked that these books did as well as they did. Again, I'm a little surprised that Shadow in the Glass didn't do as well. I'm a little disappointed at that. But the clear winner of this video is Marion Lane. I will be continuing this series. I probably will pick up another book by this author if they come out with something else. It's been quite a while and I haven't seen anything, so I don't know, because it didn't do well. I don't know if they got picked up for another book, so I'll be checking that every once in a while. And then the thing about this book is it was written so well, I just didn't like the ending. I didn't like the plot at the end. So I feel like I would pick up another book by this author, again, if they're going to put something else out, because, yeah, again, not well received, so they might not have got another one. And this author, I think I'm done. I don't think I'm going to pick up a single thing this author writes ever again, because I have not enjoyed anything they've written except for the very first Blue Bloods book. I haven't enjoyed literally anything else. So I think any books by this author, if I have any more, are just gonna go. I think this is the last one though. And yeah, really disappointing, to be honest, because their books always sound so interesting and then they're just not good. The writing is just not good. So yeah, so that's it. Yeah, those are my opinions on the books. I am honestly quite excited that I'm finished this because I just want to read some books. Like, I'm a mood reader. This was really fun to do because it brought me out of my comfort zone, and I got through a ton of backlist books, which was like my biggest point of this video. But yeah, I'm kind of done with this for now. So I plan to start my next reading vlog in February. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I believe it's going to be a horror series, which is exciting. Or not series, but it's going to be a horror vlog, Bloody Valentine, for February, which will be nice palette cleanser after reading a lot of most of these were fantasy except for the Marion Lane. And it definitely had some fantastical aspects because of the gadgetry and some stuff going on in it. So anyway, that's all I got for this reading vlog. I am so excited. I'm done. 4 was too many. 4 was too many. I think I'm going to reduce it down to 3, depending on the length of the books. Because, like, Star Daughter and Shadow in the Glass were both very long for me. So, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. So, I would knock it down to 3. I feel like that's more manageable. And we'll see as we go through the months if I want to add more. But anyway, yeah, that was it for this vlog. Thank you for sticking around. I am so grateful if you did get to the end. And make sure you subscribe for more vlogs and unboxings and reviews, etc. I'm not going to do any reviews for any of them that were in here. I already talked about them, so don't need to do any reviews. But make sure you like the video. Comment down below what you thought about the books. If you read any, what you thought. If you read any and didn't like them, let me know why you didn't like them. I probably know why. Because I can see in all these books the issues, especially because I didn't like 2 out of the 4 kind of. So anyway, make sure you like the video, comment down below. I love hearing what you guys say. And yeah, that is it. And I will see you guys in the next video.